There is always one person who arrives early. You walk into the restaurant 10 minutes ahead of time, and somehow they are already there. Coffee in front of them, coat folded on the chair beside them. They look up, they smile, and they don't say a word about how long they have been waiting. You used to think they were just punctual. They are not. The person who is always early is not the person who has more time than you. They are the person who quietly gave something up to be there, the hair half done, the breakfast skipped, the kitchen left messy until later. Something was sacrificed before they walked out the door, and you never saw the sacrifice, you only saw the calm. This is what the thumbnail called the hidden true color. It isn't a color at all. It's a quiet inner rhythm. And after watching people for a long time, I can tell you this, that one rhythm decides more about how a person ages than almost anything else they do. Tonight we'll walk through what that rhythm actually is. Why some people grow more peaceful with every year that passes. Why others, who work just as hard their whole lives, grow more restless the older they get. And why the last point in this video, the sixth one, is the one most people miss until it's too late. Let's start. When I was younger, I thought early arrivers were just well-mannered people, disciplined, maybe a little anxious. After watching them for 40, 50 years, I realized something else entirely. They are not protecting the schedule. They are protecting themselves. Think about what happens when you arrive somewhere out of breath. Your chest is tight. Your eyes dart around the room. Your first 3 sentences come out faster than you meant them to. You apologize twice, and for the next 10 minutes, you are not really there yet. Your body sat down, but your mind is still in traffic. The room can feel it. The other person can feel it. You are the last to feel it. The early arriver knows this feeling and refuses to live inside it, not because they are calmer by nature, because they have learned, somewhere along the way, that the version of themselves that walks in flustered is not the version they want anyone to meet, especially not someone they care about. A man I knew years ago was always early. Rain, snow, tired days, sick days. One afternoon I finally asked him why. He looked at me for a moment, then he said very quietly, "I don't want to meet the people I love while I'm still catching my breath." I have thought about that sentence for 30 years. The early arriver is not the person who has extra time. They are the person who gave something up. The polished hair, the second cup of coffee, the tidy kitchen, so they could walk through the door whole instead of arriving in pieces. That trade-off is the hidden color. That is what you have been seeing your whole life without knowing what it was. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. The next time you watch someone walk into a room flustered, look at their face for 3 seconds before they catch themselves. You will see it, the small sign that says, "I lost the morning before I even got here." And the next time you see someone sitting quietly in the corner, already settled, look at their face too. You will see the opposite. "I kept my morning, now I can give it to you." Now, let me turn this around because this is where the real story is. There is a friend in almost every life, sometimes a spouse, sometimes a sibling, who is late every single time. 5 years go by, 20 years go by, they still walk in 15 minutes late, breathing hard, apologizing in the same words they used last Tuesday. Why? A study from the University of Washington, published a few years back in Psychology Today, tested something called prospective memory, the ability to remember a future task and plan backwards from it. The researchers found that people who chronically run late don't have a character flaw. They have a measurable difference in how their brain handles future time. Their mental clock genuinely runs differently from yours. But here's where it gets interesting. There are 2 kinds of late people, and they are very different from each other. The first kind is late by exactly the same amount, every time. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. You could set your watch by their lateness. lateness. The second kind is unpredictable. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 45, sometimes they don't show up at all. These two come from very different places inside. The consistent late person is the one who calculates. They know the drive takes 30 minutes, so they leave in 31. They live at the very edge of every estimate every time, and the edge always crumbles a little. There is no buffer. There is no quiet minute to gather themselves before they walk out the door. They are not careless. They are squeezing. The unpredictable late person is something else. Often, without realizing it, they have built a small habit of putting their own attention first. The thing they are doing right now feels more urgent than the person who is waiting. I'll finish this email and then go. I'll just check one more thing. The other person, the one already at the table, doesn't quite exist in the same way to them in that moment. It's not cruelty. Often, it's just a different way of seeing time. But over 20 years, the friend on the other side feels it. Two kinds of late. The squeezer cuts every buffer until life cracks. The drifter lets their own attention come first, again and again, without meaning to. Neither is wicked. Both, over time, send the same quiet message to the people who keep waiting. You are not the most important thing in this moment. And after enough of those moments, the people stop waiting. And there's one more pattern worth naming. The people who live closest to the meeting place are very often the latest. The friend whose office is 3 blocks from the restaurant. The cousin who lives 10 minutes from the family dinner. Psychologists call this optimism bias. When the distance is short, the brain stores only the fastest version of the trip, the green light, no traffic version, and forgets every time it took twice as long. The closer you live, the more the optimistic version dominates, and the later you arrive. I want to say something gently here. If you recognized yourself in this chapter, if you are the squeezer or the drifter or the one who lives too close, this is not a video designed to shame you. It is a video designed to show you what the people who keep waiting for you have been silently learning about you, because they have been learning, whether they ever told you or not. There is a particular kind of pain I want to name in this chapter because it goes deep, and most people never quite put words to it. You have a friend. They have been late to you for years. You have made peace with it. That's just how they are, you tell yourself. It's not personal. And then one day, through a chance conversation, you find out something. They were never late to their girlfriend. They were never late to their boss. They were never late to the dinner with the new business partner they wanted to impress. The lateness was never a personality. It was a choice, just not a choice they made for you. The moment you learn this, something quiet breaks inside the friendship. Not a fight, not a confrontation, just a small, permanent recalibration. Oh, I see now. I was the one they decided they didn't have to try for. You cannot bring it up. If you bring it up, you sound petty, you sound small. The chronically late person has a way of making the people they hurt feel like the unreasonable ones for noticing. So you say nothing, you smile, you keep showing up on time, but something has shifted, and they will never know what they lost. I have watched this dynamic destroy friendships of 20, 30, 40 years. Quietly, without anyone ever raising their voice. People drift, calls slow down, invitations stop. And the late one, somewhere in their 70s, looks around and wonders why the room got so empty. They never connected it to the small choice they made, again and again, to put their own minutes ahead of someone else's. A late friend who is never late for the people they want to impress is telling you something they will never say out loud. You are in the safe column. You will forgive me. I don't have to spend effort here. And the cruelest part is, you probably will forgive them. But forgiveness and respect are not the same thing. One quietly leaves the room long before the other does. Now I want to widen the lens because this is not really a video about appointments. It's a video about a rhythm. And the rhythm decides something much bigger than lunch. Watch carefully and you will see it. The people who never quite owned their own time when they were young, who lived by the company clock, the family clock, the children's clock, the boss's clock, those are the people who struggle most when retirement finally arrives, the schedule disappears, the calendar empties, and they discover, sometimes at 65, sometimes at 70, that they don't actually know how to spend a Tuesday morning. Nobody ever taught them. They never asked themselves. A 2018 retirement study by the National Institute on Aging, tracking 8,732 adults across 10 years, found that the strongest predictor of post-retirement depression was not money. It was not health. It was something the researchers called time use disorientation, the feeling of having hours and no idea what to do with them. The people who scored lowest on this measure were the people who, even during their working years, had quietly kept a small piece of the clock for themselves. The early arriver is one example of someone who kept a piece of the clock. 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, a small habit over a lifetime of refusing to be entirely owned by other people's urgency. It looks like nothing, it looks like a quirk, but over 50 years, those small reclaimed minutes add up to something a person actually owns, a sense of their own pace. The person who was always rushing, for the boss, for the kids, for the in-laws, for the deadline, never built that. They built a life. They built a career. They built a family. But they did not build the quiet inner muscle of being with their own time. And in retirement, that muscle is exactly what they need and exactly what they don't have. The rhythm you protect at 30 is the rhythm you live by at 70. The minutes you reclaimed for yourself, even small ones, become the years you will know what to do with. The minutes you gave away entirely become the empty mornings you can't fill. Nobody warned us about this. Nobody had to. The body keeps the score, and so does the calendar. There is one more layer to the early arriver, and this one matters more than all the others. When you arrive 10 minutes early, something almost no one talks about happens. You have to sit alone. You sit at the table. The other person is not there yet. You have 10 minutes. No phone scrolling, ideally, no agenda, just you, a chair, and the room. To some people, this is the most uncomfortable 10 minutes of the week. They fidget, they reach for the phone, they start composing a text to ask where the other person is, even though the other person is not late yet. But the lifelong early arriver, they don't mind. They look out the window. They watch the waiter set the next table. They take a slow sip of water. They have, over many years, built a small comfort with their own company. And that small comfort is one of the most underrated skills a person can carry into their 60s and 70s. Because here is what happens later in life. The children leave. The spouse sometimes leaves too. Through divorce, through illness, through death. The job ends. The phone rings less. The house gets quieter than you ever thought a house could be. And the person who never learned to be alone with themselves discovers at exactly the worst possible moment that they don't know how. They turn the television on for the noise. They call people more often than the people want to be called. They fill the silence with anything, because the silence frightens them. And the people around them slowly back away, not from cruelty, but from the sheer weight of someone who cannot sit alone. The 10 minutes alone at a restaurant table, year after year, is a quiet rehearsal. A rehearsal for the long quiet that arrives in the last third of life. The people who rehearse all their lives walk into that quiet and find it familiar. The people who never rehearsed walk into it and feel like they are drowning. The early arriver was practicing and didn't even know it. And now I want to give you the last one, the sixth observation, the one most people miss until it is far too late to fix. The early arriver, in the end, is not just protecting their own peace. They are quietly telling the other person something. Your time matters to me. I planned around it. I gave something up for it. You are not an afterthought in my day. That is the message the chronically late person can never quite send, no matter how warmly they apologize. The apology says, "I'm sorry." The lateness says, "I didn't actually plan around you." And the second message is the one the other person remembers, long after the first is forgotten. This connects to something the psychologist Martin Seligman wrote about in his book Homo Prospectus. Seligman's argument, in plain language, is this: the depth of any relationship is measured by how much future the two people share with each other. You stop talking about next year with someone you are quietly preparing to leave. You stop making plans with someone whose word doesn't quite hold. And this is the cruel arithmetic of the chronically late life. The people around them, often without realizing it, slowly stop including them in future plans. Not the lunches, those continue, the big plans, the trips, the business ventures. The "I want you with me when this matters," those quietly migrate to other people, reliable people, people whose presence at a future moment can actually be counted on. The lifelong late person doesn't notice this happening. They notice the result decades later. The world feels a little colder. The phone rings a little less. They wonder why the friendships of their 20s didn't deepen into the friendships of their 70s. And the answer was hidden inside every 15-minute delay, every casual sorry, traffic, every meal where they walked in last. What you keep showing people about your relationship to time, you are also showing them about your relationship to them. And after enough years, the people who have been watching make their quiet decisions. Who they will share the next decade with, who they will not, who they will trust with the future, who they will not. The choices are almost never said out loud. They almost always get made. Before I close this with the one thing I most want you to take with you tonight, something quiet has changed on this channel. There is now a way to walk alongside this work, if you have ever felt moved to. It is called Friend of WISECAST, $4.99 a month, a small badge beside your name, episodes a day before everyone else. Nothing more is asked of you. If you choose to, the button is just below this video. If you don't, the work continues exactly the same. Either way, thank you for being here. I want to say one last thing, because I know there is someone watching tonight who has been on time their entire life, to school, to work, to every appointment, and who looks at their bank account and thinks, "What good did it do me?" I hear you. Being early did not make you rich. It did not give you a bigger house. But here is what it gave you. It gave you a self you didn't lose, a pace you owned, a morning that belonged to you before it belonged to anyone else. And in the long quiet that arrives at the end of every life, that self, that pace, that morning, those are the only things that were ever really yours. They were yours the whole time, and you didn't even know it. So tomorrow morning, leave 5 minutes earlier than you have to. Not for them. For you. For the person you will be when you walk through the door. For the breath you won't have to catch. For the small, quiet rehearsal of a life that still belongs to you. The hidden color was never about the appointment. It was about who you are when you arrive. Good night.